Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Brigadier Cameron Purdy. Brigadier Purdy will be leaving the Australian Army soon after 30 years of service, and we'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your service to our nation. Today also marks the 101st anniversary of the death of Corporal Joseph Purdy, Brigadier Purdy's great-great-uncle at Bruisendale Ridge. And today, Brigadier Purdy will be reading the story of Trooper Victor Francis Rule, who died of illness 100 years ago today in Palestine. We warmly welcome the family of Trooper Rule. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family as well as visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Trooper Victor Francis Rule. Rule was born in 1897, the son of George and Sarah Rule of the Adelaide suburb of Fulton. After attending school in the local area, Rule worked as a bricklayer and master builder with his father. While at school, he took part in senior cadets in accord with the Universal Military Training Scheme operating at the time. He was later actively involved in the Citizens Military Forces, operating part-time with Number 11 Field Company engineers. Those who knew Rule held him in high esteem, and he was remembered for his cheery disposition. Rule was one of 4 brothers to serve in the First World War. He enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in June 1916, and after a period of training in Adelaide, embarked for Egypt with a reinforcement group for the 3rd Light Horse Regiment in January 1917. On arrival, he went into camp near Moscow and the Suez Canal, where he trained as a signaller, a trade he most likely already knew something about from his time with the Citizens Military Force. In late June, Rule joined the 3rd Light Horse Regiment in camp at Tel El Marakeb on the Palestinian coastline. At this time, the war in the Middle East had settled into a protracted stalemate between the British and Ottoman forces. At the end of July, after taking part in bitter fighting at Gaza, the Australian Mounted Division surfed, played sports, sunbaked and swam with their horses every day. Less than 2 weeks after joining the regiment in rest, Rule sprained his ankle and had to be evacuated to Abbasia. Rule returned to the 3rd Light Horse Regiment in August 1917. With the capture of Gaza, Ottoman positions in southern Palestine collapsed, and the Australian Mounted Division ultimately moved on to Jaffa, from where it crossed the Jordan River. The division was involved in raids at Amman in February, at Esault in April and May, and repulsed Ottoman attacks in July 1918. Rule participated in the offensives that was subsequently launched along the Mediterranean coast in September 1918, when the Anzac Mounted Division fought actions at Megiddo and Nablus. After weeks of heavy fighting, the 3rd Light Horse Regiment was encamped at Zizad near Amman on the 5th of October 1918, when Rule was admitted sick in the hospital. His condition worsened over the following days, and he was evacuated to the 34th Clearing Hospital at Jerusalem, where he succumbed to malignant case of malaria 8 days later. Aged 21 at the time of his death, Rule was buried in the Jerusalem War Cemetery. In the following weeks, his grieving family inserted the following epitaph in the local newspaper: "So dearly loved, his duty nobly done." Victor Rule's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper Victor Francis Rule, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Please feel free to visit the poppy display in the grounds as you leave. You may also indulge in some refreshments at Poppy's Cafe, which will be open until 9 p.m. And join us back in the commemorative area from 6:30 p.m. for the late night opening. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.